So to the top, we have the Bravia 9 and LG G4. This is from Tech with KG's video. I'm sure you've all have seen this footage. So if you'd like to compare at any point in time, feeling like maybe I'm just lowering the saturation of his images, you can literally take the same exact screenshots of the Spears and Munsell, benchmarking disc and literally just put it side by side. And I left a little room at the top so you could do just that, because I know a lot of people want to fact check what I'm saying. So by all means, go right ahead. And at the bottom is the Samsung S95D. Now, the reason I'm doing this is to give you, again, some extra tools to kind of see the differences that I talk about. There can be no argument made when you look at images like this, and you can see there's just a vast amount of depth and color coming off of the Samsung S95D. The experience is so day and night between these three TVs that, it's hard to even justify buying the other two. And I've said this and other people go, you're wrong, and there's a lot of arguments. So since we're all AV YouTubers in the business of recording televisions and showing you something, here's his recorded footage and here's my recorded footage of the same exact thing. Which one looks better? Let's go to the next slide. Here is his recorded footage at the top. Here's my recorded footage at the bottom. Notice how you see more details in the mountains in my footage. You see way more color in, again, the landscape, different tonalities outside of one jaundiced shade of green. Anytime you're watching a YouTuber and you see a jaundiced shade of green wrapping across the entire screen, they are doing one of two things and nothing else. One, whipping it out of the box and putting it into filmmaker mode or movie mode. Or two, they are doing a reference accurate calibration, not taking advantage of what the TV could ever remotely do. Now, this is the industry standard across every single professional you will ever meet. This is what I fight and champion so much for as the Lone Ranger doing this. Nobody, and I mean nobody, takes advantage of these TVs so you can actually see the differences. Now, many of you guys give these videos thousands of views, likes, and you say it looks amazing. So since this is what you're saying looks amazing, I'm going to show you what it looks like when I pull up to the party. Okay, here you have their image at the top. You can see washed out color, generally very flat looking. This is what they're championing and saying looks amazing. And at the bottom, the sunset, you can actually see the sun blasting through the satellite on my image at the bottom on the S95D. Now, to be fair, I don't think that the LG G4 could do this because it's a WOLED, and the brighter it gets, the worse off it gets. And then you can kind of see that in the grass versus, again, even comparatively in the same footage, you see a little bit more color on the grass on the Sony. Although, if you look at this example, LG has better sky. The gradation color of the sky is just better. Where Samsung, it's nice. They have a lot more shades of color, but it's not going to be that nice single shade. And that's also something to point out. They're kind of approaching this with like single shades, where Samsung is showing multiple shades that would gradate in a sky. In this example, you're going to see that even more exasperatingly so. And again, the only one in this example that I would say would even come close would be the Bravia 9, because you can actually see it is trying to give you the darkness of the color that you're supposed to have that gradates down into the orange. But if you look at it, it's really light and the color is not very saturated or natural to what it would look like if you walk outside and look at a sunset. Sunsets are never dull like this, okay? They always have life. They always have so much color and highlight detail that you're like, gobsmacked. You're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful, right? I mean, hello, you ever go out to the mountains of Yellowstone or in Arizona somewhere, you will see one of the most beautiful sunsets you've ever seen in your whole life. Okay, and if you haven't done that already, just a little tip, put that on your travel plans. That being said, you can see what I'm talking about here. The S95D at the bottom exhibiting way, way more color by a landslide. It's not even remotely close. Again, we go to this scene, we can now start ascertaining a little bit more of differences in brightness detail, even though it's a little hard to do because, again, it's not giving off a luminosity level when we're recording these TVs. So you have to look at the surrounding areas. Look through the holes of the satellite. The only television that is actually providing sustainable brightness where you can see illumination and you can see multiple holes being lit up correctly is the S95D. Brightness all day, every day, going to the S95D. However, I tend to prefer The Bravia 9 sky, that is the natural sky, a more realistic sky if we're going for accuracy. But if we're going for generally what I think is the better shade of blue, I like what the G4 does with the shade of blue. All things considered though, the Samsung is sharper. And that's how I would look at this image and be able to dissect it. Now, if we look at an image like this, it's pretty much more of the same. It's kind of like, again, a jaundice filter wrapped around the cows. Everything's flat, everything's ugly. Samsungs do tend to add a little bit of red push, but again, that is to be expected. You're going to have compromises across every TV manufacturer brand, so just keep that in mind. Now, Samsung, in the way they represent grass, I feel that is very realistic. I've walked outside and seen grass that shade and color very vibrant and realistic. I have never actually seen anything but dead grass look the color of the grass, excuse me here, that we're seeing here on the left on the Bravia 9. To the right on the G4, again, more of the same. I mean, yes, an argument can be made. You've seen grass like that, but definitely not cows that look like that, washed and dead and lifeless. And again, this is an indication that this TV is either severely not being brought out to its full potential, or this is just an awful television that shouldn't even be remotely mentioned as a premium product. You pick whichever one works best for you. Here's the alligator scene that he did. And again, you can see the massive, massive loss of color and contrast on the Bravia 9. That will not be something you can change. The contrast differences between these are going to be huge. The OLED is going to absolutely smack it on the floor. But notice how the S95D, despite having that filter that makes it a little blurry, has more depth than the G4 in this example. Kind of going to what I was saying, when you have bright scenes with an even balance of contrast across the screen, it has no problem maintaining superior levels of contrast. It really doesn't. And with near black stuff, that's really where it starts to shine for sure. So as you can clearly see, it literally has a world of difference of color. And again, it's just like the alligator looks jaundiced, dead, washed out. I mean, it's not what an alligator looks like. They have a lot of color. Now, again, you can look at the owl scene, more of the same, dead, washed out. And this is what literally everyone that has watched that video smacks likes on, glows up, says, oh, this is a great comparison, I love it. I don't ever see that in their footage. All I see is lazy ass dudes and lazy ass kids getting on camera and literally saying, oh my God, it looks amazing, when all they've literally done is pull it out of the box. I swear to God, all you have to do is walk into Best Buy and do exactly what they did. It takes zero effort, zero energy, and at that point, there is nothing special about them. A Best Buy level employee knows more than these people showing you these TVs. I am not even joking. Look at this difference in color right now. You don't even know that there are different shades of color in the fucking feathers. I mean, it's all just jaundice yellow, and it's not supposed to be jaundice yellow. That owl is supposed to have that orange and yellow inside of the iris that is missing on both of these displays. Again, when I champion the way I do for different types of calibration processes, this is why. Because if you look, what they're offering you, you could buy any old TV or any like budget end TV from Walmart, Costco, Target, doesn't matter. The price at that point wouldn't even matter. You could be $150 and you'd get the same level of ugly as far as color goes that this would give you. The only difference being black levels. But really at that point, just buy something like a U6 or something like that, something with mini LED or full array, and just completely leave it in the most washed out mode, because that is all they ever do. And this is what vexes me. Look at this. This is like the biggest difference of differences. The bird has every shade of color in the feathers, and it wraps around correctly. You can see literally everything you could ever want out of an image showing a bird like this, where at the top, both those birds look dead and cannot compete at all. The Bravia 9 by far, though, looks a little bit worse for wear, in that the contrast can be seen that it is obviously not an OLED. So even though they have this new backlighting system, they should have just gone OLED. I feel like the A95L should have been replaced with the 2024 version of that, and the Bravia 9 should have been a QD OLED. Personal opinion there. But here we are comparing an LED to OLEDs because Sony decided to make that their flagship. So flagship to flagship, they're getting spanked by the S95D. We look at the G4. The G4 is not bad at all. I see a ton of clarity. However, the color, as you can clearly see, is definitely the problem. And again, it's not going to beat the S95D in brightness ever. And then again, if we look at another bird example, you just look at the feathers. Just look at the feathers alone. Now, I understand when we record stuff, you can't get a 100% representation. Never, ever going to happen. But what you will get is you will get a damn good idea of what the TV looks like, because certain things happen when you record with cameras, okay? Cameras always push out more saturation, okay? So when you are looking at something that is washed out and desaturated on a camera, that is a big deal. That means it's even worse in person, because cameras by nature try to find things and algorithmically correct them and push out higher levels of saturation. So when you see something that is oversaturated, it's not always as overjuiced. So if at any point in time you're looking at any of this footage and you think maybe the Bravia 9 is more oversaturated than the G4, just remember cameras push out a little bit more saturation to correct the images. So that's some of the challenges we get. Now, imagine with what I just told you, and now having that knowledge, looking at this image, you can understand why this is such a big deal. Because the S95D is trouncing both of these TVs to the point of no return based off of Tech with KG's comparison footage. Now, if you were to again dissect this, what this means for you, it means both of those TVs grossly lacking color. We know this is true when we look at the analytical data, we look at the scientific data, and we can see that the LG G4 is 80% at least lower on the color scale than what we have on the Samsung S95D, and it does not do it justice. Its color volume, again, not coming close. We have a ton of issues with the Bravia 9's contrast. That alone would defeat a lot of the color advantages, making things look pale, chalky, things of that nature. I mean, you're seeing, quite honestly, the greatest testament as to why you need quantum dots and OLED paired together and what the big advantage is. And again, you don't believe me? Look at this lizard. Again, keep in mind, cameras would tend to overjuice and oversell an image. So if let's pretend in a hypothetical world my images are oversold, then what the hell does that say about these images to the Bravia 9 and the G4? The camera's already overselling this image. Does this look oversold to you? That should let you know that there is a despairingly different amount of color and color coverage that these TVs are pushing out. And contrast and clarity and details, I hate to break it to you, also are really woefully lacking. Again, we can kind of give a little bit of a break because this is YouTube and we are taking screenshots and we're not seeing it in person. It's not directly a one-to-one, so we can give a slide there on clarity and things like that. However, we can kind of see that there is a big difference in clarity between the Bravia 9 and the G4, and we can kind of say, okay, that's a thing on camera on that end. Well, we can also then make that same logic and leap with the S95D. I mean, just look at it. And I mean, when you look at example after example like this one, showing you more color, more clarity, more detail, the point is not to celebrate Samsung or champion them. The point is to show you the truth. To be very honest, my name is not on any one of these boxes or on any one of these corporations. I don't give a damn what you buy. That is your God-given right because you worked for your money. Buy what you like. If you want a Bravia 9, get a Bravia 9. Who cares? I don't. I already have what I want, okay? This is to help give information that can aid you in that process because a lot of people are full of shit and extraordinarily inexperienced. And this is the problem that I have being someone that has a disgusting amount of experience in this business that gets woefully overlooked for a myriad of different bullshit reasons, just for the sole purpose of people like Tech with KG putting out bullshit comparisons like this. You are not going to sit there and tell me the Bravia 9 and the G4 are just so grossly undersaturated and so grossly just positioned that they can't even remotely touch the S95D. But if my S95D with my settings, as you are clearly seeing, went up against what they do and what they sell to you on those channels as this is a premium product and this is amazing, look at all the examples I have shown you, and you'll see that there is a vast difference in the way you would be watching TV if you only listened to them, which is why power to you for finding this channel, making it through all the way until the end, learning the difference between my comparisons and theirs and what it means to fully optimize the TV versus whipping it out of the box without any real fucking effort at all being put into this craft and trade and literally just selling people literally out of the box picture quality. I get very passionate and very angry about it because it's something I put no end to the amount of hours into. okay? Killing myself quite literally. I literally just got out of surgery. You guys had no idea, okay? Scariest thing, by the way, I've ever gone through. Very extremely painful going under a knife. Holy shit, okay? I'm literally taking my life, my health at a detriment, killing myself to do this, to show you the differences. These people aren't doing that. And so I have a right to be passionate, and I'm not going to be humble about it. And I'm not going to be kind about it, because when bullshit like this is happening and it's getting gassed up, you need the truth. Now, you don't have to gas up the truth, and we can bury this video in the annals of time as just some salty hater. That is completely fine. But to the people who know exactly what I'm showing you and exactly what I'm doing, you can see just how badly these TVs are being represented on other channels. And don't just mark my words. I've shown you AV forums. You go look at artings.com, Digital Trends, HDTV Test, Tech with KG. They all do it. Not a single one of them knows what the hell they're doing or how to pull out a real picture quality human beings want to see. And the problem with that is you're real human beings paying for these TVs. You're real human beings saving for these TVs. And at the end of the day, you're real human beings watching these TVs. And so everything that I do is about representing people. I don't give a fuck about numbers. And I will say that in plain brass tacks, just like that. Numbers don't mean anything to me. A computer can tell me it's reference accurate, and everybody's done it for 30 years. Okay, that's wonderful. You know, at one point, people were very segregated, and that was the norm too. Things change in society as we learn and evolve. If you stay where you are, you will stay behind the times. And that is the best example I can give to anyone who does not understand why I am so passionate about this. That being said, let me know what you thought about this comparison. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, let me know, and I'll compare it to other YouTubers' videos as well. Thanks for watching the #1 brand in honesty, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.